Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Middleton. I work for the Prince George's County Executive, and I specifically in our office work as the LDC liaison. Thank you all for joining tonight to learn more about our process as it pertains to the LDC grant. Last year, we had our most successful LDC grant process that we've had in the program's history. This year, we hope to either replicate it or do even better. So we thank you all for joining, for all your interest. As you all can hear, this meeting is being recorded. So if there's anything that you might have missed, if there's a slide that you might have wanted to take another look at, is being recorded. It will be posted on YouTube and added to the LDC's website either tonight or tomorrow. So please ask all the questions that you need, take notes. And again, if there's any additional questions that you have even after this, please feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to assist. Pastor Robinson, I will throw it over to you.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us. We indeed had a very successful year last year. I think we awarded 39 organizations funding. However, our funding source or the amount of money has not changed. We have $850,000 to disbursed this year, maximum gift of $50,000, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get that, but that's the maximum award that we can make. I want to take the time before Ms. Bonham comes on to deal with the workshop. I want to make it real clear to everybody. This is a very serious situation that we discovered in the past. I think some organizations see this as a giveaway. This is not at any stretch of the imagination a giveaway. And however you purpose the money, we're going to ask you and forewarn to please make certain that you stay inside of the purpose. And should these fundings need to be repurposed, you can't do it without permission. It's very, very important that you understand that. None of you want to find yourself sent to audit and inspections. Misuse of money can lead to federal charges, and we want to make that certain. So if you have any concerns about how you're using the money, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call before you spend the money in some way that it's not permissible to do so. We have what we call a mid-year report and the end of the year report that you're required to submit. We also have an oversight committee that will pick up the phone and call you from time to time, do a site visit, and want to see a paper trail for the fundings that you have expenditure. So with that in mind, I just want to say, please make certain that you spend these monies properly, that they're used properly, and they are recorded properly in case you're asked for how you're using the money, or that you have to be sent to audit inspections for a more robust, detailed inspection of your funding. With that in mind, I will turn it over to Ms. Bynum. I think just before that, I see, do we have Ms. Bethea, would you introduce yourself? Do we have any of our other LDC members online? If so, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Ebonique Bethea. I am a new member to the LDC. Excited to do this good work for our county and our community, and just trying to get as much information as I possibly can about the process so I can be helpful to everyone when folks reach out. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other LDC members on?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rashida Jackson McElwain. I'm a member of the LDC, been on the council since December 2020, and we look forward to hearing from you all and reviewing your perfect applications.
All right, anyone else? All right, Kanika, I'll just turn it over to you. I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson.
Yes. I'm Evelyn Wilson. I'm a new member to the council, and I'm here to understand the process, get a better idea of what we're evaluating once the files and folders come into the planning committee.
Okay. With that in mind, just again, want to ask you to please be conscious of how you're spending the money, how you're using the money. The Oversight Committee does a thorough inspection of those fundings, how you're using the fundings. And as I say, you have a report a mid-year report, and you also have an end of the year report. We have had to send several people or several organizations to audit and inspections. And again, that this is money that can end up with charges if you use the wrong way, or at least forced to give it back. So please keep that in mind as you move through this process. And again, if you have questions, please pick up the phone and don't hesitate to ask before you do something. So we are here to be very, very helpful with you in this process, and hope that we can award you some funding. Tanika.
But before Kanika gets started, I do want to make sure to ask everyone, if you're not speaking, please mute yourselves on the call so we don't have any disruptions. And we will have questions and answers at the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions that you need to get off, please add them to the chat. And I'm sure Kanika will be able to address them either towards the end of the presentation or as she's moving along. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
All right. We're going to start with a PowerPoint presentation that's going to go through the LDC's, the local impact grant application. And then we'll also move to what the actual application looks like. So we'll go through this PowerPoint a little faster so that we can see what the actual application looks like. So this is the workshop for 2023. The Local Development Council, here we have a picture of the radius that the grant, the land that's within the LDC's zone that they're awarding for applicants who serve Prince George's County residents. I believe as of last year, that radius was extended to about 6 miles, but please remember it's still within Prince George's County. So, you know, we know that that radius would extend into D.C. and Virginia, but we're just staying within Prince George's County. There is a website. And again, this presentation and the video will be online, and so you can reference this later, but there is a website where you can see if your address where you serve constituents is within the radius, and so you'll be able to look that up if you're not sure. As far as what we're going through today, we'll look at the timeline for the grant process, an overview of the application, the supporting documents that are required with the application. We'll look at the portal, and then if you are awarded, the reporting requirements, some reminders, and then we'll go through questions. Looking at the timeline, right here, we're at February 16th is the workshop. The application is due on the 17th next month. You should receive a notification by about April 21st, and that should be by a letter. It may also be an email. The LDC will have about 2 months to review the applications and decide who will get the funding. In their June meeting, so June 21st, it will be recommended for the awardees who are decided to get the funding. And then a notification will go out about who's awarded and who's not awarded. And payments should be issued no later than June 30th. But as you see, there's an asterisk by these dates, and so those dates are tentative. This is what the portal looks like. It's actually the exact same portal for last year, so hopefully for most of you, this is a refresher. But we'll see the gist of what that looks like more a little later. The application is made up of several sections. The first section is just basic information about your organization, information about the program. There's a service category, information about other awards that you've received from the county. So that could be contracts, that could be grants, financial information about your organization, It's going to be split up into an organizational budget, a budget for your entire organization, and then a budget just for that program that you're seeking funding for, if your organization has multiple programs. You'll submit a proposal narrative, a detailed narrative about your program so we can better understand who you are and what you're doing. And then some required documentation to attach to your application that'll help us assess not only your good standing with the state, but also just like some good background on your organization as far as your W-9 and that you're a 501c3, things like that. Here's another section where you would sign some assurances just to let you know what's required as far as receiving the award. So we'll look at that. And specifically when we get to this, we'll see it on the application. For the financial information that you're submitting, there is a template Word doc that you would download, fill that out exactly as it is, and then upload. So the budget that we're looking for is a budget that we give to you for you to fill out. That way we can look at everybody's budget in kind of an apples to apples kind of way. Don't submit your own budget or your own financial information. We have a template that we want you to fill out. Looking at the supporting documentation. So these are extra, sorry, it's a little loud behind me. These are extra documents that we'll need on top of the application that you'll submit to us. We'll need the IRS exempt search. So this is a website that you will go to. If everyone sees this link, you'll go to this website, you'll put in your organization name, you'll search, your organization should come up. You can also put in your tax ID. We'll see when we get to this. Your organization should come up, and then you'll click on your organization name, print that or PDF that, and send that to us. That's what we're looking for when it comes to that. And this will tell us that you have been sending tax returns to the IRS. It'll show us where you've submitted your 990s, whether a 990EZ and 990N. This will be proof that you've been submitting them. Your IRS tax determination letter. So this verifies from the IRS that you are a 501c3, and the LDC is giving awards to 501c3 nonprofits. So this is your determination letter for that. Your certificate of status, that's what it's called in Maryland. It's called a certificate of clean hands in DC, and it's got another name in Virginia. This is a document that just lets us know that when it comes to the state, you are in good standing with the state, which normally means that you've filed your taxes, because we understand that everyone's a nonprofit. This is on a very specific website, which is in the application, and you would do it for the state where you are incorporated. So you could be incorporated in DC, but serve people who live in the LDC's zone close to the MGM area, and you would submit a certificate of clean hands according to DC. So what is not accepted but is often submitted is a charitable registration from the state of Maryland. We don't need that. And we have some differences here below. Again, this PowerPoint will be on the LDC website, but the charitable registration is issued by the Secretary of the State. This is simply a registration that you are allowed to receive charitable donations. The certificate of status is issued by the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation, and it proves that you are authorized, that you're in good standing with the state when it comes to any fees or your taxes or property taxes or anything like that. So that's the difference between these. We do not need this. When it comes to financial statements, so what the LDC is asking is that you submit a 990. So it could be a 990EZ. The LDC, unlike other Okay. The LDC, unlike other grant programs from the county, does allow you to file a 990N. So you would have to submit either the 990 return that you most recently did or audited financial statements. And so audited financial statements are done by a CPA. That's what the LDC is requiring here. If you have any questions about submitting financial statements, just feel free to send us an email while you're doing the application. I'm going to pause for a minute so that I believe someone would like to make some comments.
Kanika, we could we'll let you finish your part of the presentation. We didn't want to interrupt that part. You can keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next requirement is a letter of support. So what's being asked for here is a letter from an organization within the radius, again, within Prince George's County, that can attest that you do serve residents within the radius, attest to what you do. So that could be a school that you serve, because maybe you serve kids within that school. That could be a church, that could be a community group. That's what we're looking for here. If you have any questions about whether or not your letter of support is from an organization that we would consider legitimate when it comes to being within the radius, feel free to send us an email and ask. What you don't want to do is just submit a letter and then it turns out that, you know, for some reason, we don't accept that. It's much better to ask than to assume. So other supporting documents that we need, but I think are a little bit more straightforward: a copy of your organization's mission statement, a copy of your board of directors and trustees list. If you are seeking support funding for actual positions, so compensation and fringe, then we ask for job descriptions for those positions. A conflict of interest policy, your IRS form W-9, so that's pretty much just giving us your tax ID. We ask that you fill out the county's ACH enrollment form, and that form will be linked in the application. So if you, I'm sorry, and for the next one, we're asking that you register with the county as a vendor. And when you do that, you'll get a vendor number. It's called an SAP vendor number. If you already have registered as a vendor and you already have your number, I'd highly recommend that you confirm that with us. So just send us an email, and at the end of the presentation, we'll have an email for everyone. Send us an email saying, hey, you know, this is my organization's name, this is our tax ID. I just want to confirm what our vendor number is, and we'll respond with that information. If you have not registered as a vendor with the county, then in the application, there will be a link where you can register. It's a multi-day process. So this application is due March 17th. You cannot start this on March 16th. So you need to, honestly, this would probably be one of the first things that I do, because you're applying for a grant seeking a vendor number. We have multiple vendors seeking vendor numbers all of the time. And so it's a multi-day process. You would like submit an application, and then some information comes back to you. And then there's like a second part. That's not my job, but I know that it's a multi-step process. So I would go ahead and get on that now. Again, that's if you are not already a registered vendor with the county. And this is just a screenshot of what that form looks like. And again, all of this information will also be in the actual application. So if you are awarded, there will be 2 reports due. One's a midpoint, so it's halfway through the year. There'll be a template with questions, narrative questions, and budget questions that you'd be asked to fill out. And there's one at 6 months, and then there's another one at the end of the year after 12 months. And then the gist of the assurances that you will sign in the application is that you subject yourself to programmatic evaluation. So like Pastor Robinson was saying, there is a committee that will kind of check in with you to make sure that, you know, things are going well. They want to see the money in action, site monitoring visits, and also general ledger detail and receipts to support the funding that's been used. Just some general do's and don'ts. Do contact OMB to verify your vendor registration numbers. That's what I was just talking about with the SAP. Even if you're already registered, you should really send us an email to make sure. So this is actually how you would get the payment. That's what we need that for. Follow the instructions. There's a lot of detailed kind of how-tos. Please read that. I would say, 90%, and more than that really, of the people who are disqualified for this grant, it's because they're not reading the instructions thoroughly. Proofread your proposal, present realistic grant budgets, and address sustainability after the grant is over. That's very important. So here's the email. Any questions, any questions, any questions? It's PGC LDC grants at co.pg.md.us. So you can send that email, any questions. Do not wait until the last minute. So if the grant's due on the 17th, to send us a question on the 16th is pushing it. I would definitely, I just highly recommend not waiting to the last minute. Please don't forget to include your required supporting documents. Don't make assumptions. It's always better to ask. And don't copy anyone else's grant. That is a very bad idea. They will notice. So right now, I think this is a natural pause because I would move to the actual application. So if Ryan, I don't know if this is a good place to pause.
Yes, this works. Can we take the share down for a second? I did want to recognize our council member for District 8, Councilmember Edward Burrows. I'm going to give him a second to provide some brief remarks.
Thank you so much, Ryan, and good evening, everyone. I want to first congratulate all of our new members to the LDC. I look forward to working with you. The work that you do is so important. I look forward to supporting it and working collaboratively with you as we maximize this wonderful resource for the residents of District 8, and also 7 and 9 has a piece of this as well. And to everyone who is seeking to apply, I look forward to working with you too. Please feel free to use our office as a resource. Anything that we can do to help and support doing amazing work in our area, that's all we're about. So thank you so much. And Ryan, I look forward to continuing to work with you as we have in the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Kanika, we can go ahead and move on to Kanika's Q&A.
I was going to just show the actual application really quick.
Okay.
And then hopefully that'll squash some questions, but we definitely want to get to any questions folks might have.
It's your show.
Thank you. All right, so this is the actual application. I hope this is probably familiar to a lot of people. When we scroll down to the bottom, it's got your deadline, it's got your eligibility. Here's a link to the map that'll let you know whether or not the address that you're talking about is within the limits. And if your address doesn't pop up, then you're not within the limits. The addresses will only pop up if you are. So that's extremely helpful. And then it lets you know before you even start the application what you need, because once you start the application, I believe you can save it and move on, but you can go ahead and gather these documents so that once you start it, you can breeze through it. So there's a list of those things here. And like I said, here's a link to the budget template that we're asking you to fill out. I'm just gonna open that really quick. It's in Word. So we're asking for your organization's financial information. We can splice that out by revenue source, or you get other county grants, you get state grants, in-kind support, and then expenses. It's just, these are some pretty high level, pretty normal expense accounts. Salary and wages is then put into a little bit more detail on the side. But as you can see, this is pretty high level, but it makes it easier for the LDC to compare organization by organization when they can see the same template. And then the second page is looking at that exact same information, but for the program that we're talking about specifically. Again, your organization might have 3 or 4 different programs, but the one that you want funding for that serves the LDC's purposes might be just that one. And so that's what that one's talking about. All right, so there we have the template, and here's again the email down at the bottom there. I'm just gonna start through this really quick. Oh, I've been in this for a while. Let's say I wanted to start an application. I'm just gonna get through this stuff. It's asking for your organization information. You'll go through that. Nobody's in Arkansas. And so let me highlight a difference between your local impact area address and your mailing address. Again, your organization might be in DC, but you do serve students or people within the local impact area, within the radius. And so you'll use your mailing address for where you actually want your organization's mail to go from the county, but the local impact area address will be within the radius. So that's the difference there. I have to get through this in order to actually show. Okay, and I think all of it has to be filled out. Oh my goodness. I think it's looking for like a specific number of digits. And email address. Okay, so this is what the application looks like. Okay, so you can save. Once you save it, it'll give you an application number. Here's your application ID. You'll just have to copy that number down, and then you can go back in later and edit it until you actually submit it. So here, this first part, you'll fill out your project name, a description of your project. You do all of that. Program, when it comes to type of funding, program funding is when the funding is only going to serve that particular program, which means mostly that your organization is not within the local impact area. And so the funds have to only go to the program. There's no, the funds going to your general organization in general. And so that's the difference. If you actually are in the local impact area, you can request general funding, but that means that your mailing address, your actual address is within the local impact area. And then you can also request capital funding. So that's going to be, when it comes to buildings. We've got a place for age groups, things like that. And if your organization partners with any other organizations. Service category, so where do you fall within these line items? There's housing, there's legal, disability services. So you would choose one of those. Other information is going to be where you show us if you've received any other funds from the county. It could be a contract, it could be a grant from council or the county exec's office. You would put that there. You'll answer these questions. Financial information. So this is where you'll upload that template that we saw on the first page. It's also linked here. You'll fill out your revenue and expenses for your organization and your project, and then you'll upload that here. In this proposal section, we have use a Word doc, use 1-inch margins, 12-point font, double space, and then you'll answer these 3 questions. A justification, which is to describe the problem that you're solving. You're kind of going to describe what your organization does. A program description, exactly what you're doing, how you evaluate outcomes and success, the and how your budget will serve what you're doing, and try to be as specific with this as you can. And then sustainability. So how is your organization going to achieve financial sustainability and programmatic as well? Here's a list of the supporting documents that you'll need. So we have examples linked here, so you have an idea of what those should look like. And again, when it comes to the good standing document, we have a link for Maryland, Virginia, and DC, because we know you can incorporate in any of those places. But you should send us the good standing for where you're actually incorporated, even if you do serve the local impact area in Prince George's County. So your mission statement, the board of directors. Again, more information on that 990. Again, you need a 990 return or audited financial statements, and audited means done by a CPA. If you're requesting funding for people, we need their job descriptions. So really quick, I just want to go over the IRS exempt select check, because that is a doozy for folks. So we're going to go to the link. Again, this is the website that shows us that my organization has been submitting returns to the IRS. So I would put in my tax ID. I don't have any memorized, so I'm going to use an organization's name. This is a pretty generic Catholic Charities. And then a whole bunch of, your organization might have a name that might be duplicated by another. Whole bunch of ones pop up, and then you find yours. Let's say it's this. Let's find another one. There we go. That other one looks like they weren't submitting a whole lot of returns. So here, this shows that this organization with this tax ID has been submitting returns every year, at least up until 2018. And so you'll PDF that, and that's what you'll submit. I think everything else should be pretty good. Again, let's just take a look at a tax determination letter. This is not the same thing as the letter that you get from the IRS that gives you your tax ID number, or your employer identification number. But this is where the IRS, it's all the same. It's the exact same. We are pleased to inform you that upon a review of your application, and it lets you know that you are now a 501c3. So that's what we're looking for there. Those have been looking the same since like the 20s. Everything else, as you can see, like there's information here to let you know what we're looking for. There's an example of what we're looking for. So it should be, again, if you have any questions, please, it's better to ask. We have a copy of the assurances. So when you certify this application, you're signing up to do all of these things. And it's pretty much saying that you will do as you said that you would do in the application when you go to use these forms, and that you're subject to the county's review. And then you'd submit the application. I'd recommend printing the application so you have a copy for your own records of, so you have a copy of your own records of what you've submitted. But of course, that's not necessary. But that's pretty much it. We can open it up to questions. I'll open up the chat. I'm gonna try to get to that first. The IRS W-9 form, you will pretty much Google that. The first one that comes up. You'll print this and then fill it out. And really, you're just doing your organization's name or business name. You'll put, hopefully that you're a 501c3, so you'll click that. You'll put your tax ID, and then you'll put your address and you sign it. That's pretty much, this is really just giving us your tax ID number. And it should all match across. Everything that you submit to us should match. So that's the W-9. I'm going to try to get the questions in the chat first. Oh, we couldn't see the budget page. Sorry about that. The website to start the application, I think we can, Ryan, I'm sure you can help us make sure that everyone gets that, everyone on the call.
It's in the chat.
Awesome. 2 applications for 2 different projects. I believe we have said that you can submit 1 application per organization. Okay. The business address or the address where services are provided. Hopefully so your mailing address should be your business address. So the address, like when you submit your W-9, like those addresses should match. And the address where services are provided should be your local impact area address. So when you go to fill out this initial information, there are 2 sections for addresses, and that's the distinction. Not required to submit a 990. What do you do? So in order to get funds from the LDC, you have to be submitting a 990 to the IRS. We know a lot of places don't, but the county needs some sort of check that even the IRS, which a 990N, if you receive less than $50,000, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that before, but it's a pretty nondescript form. It's called a postcard, just to kind of let the IRS know that, hey, we're here and we receive less than $50,000. So but in order to receive funds from the county, we do need, because they're public funds, and we do need to make sure that they're used properly and given in a responsible manner. So in order to receive funds from the county, we do need a 990 return or audited financial statements. And you could submit a 990N like today. I mean, it's pretty, not a lot of effort goes into it. A phone number, a contact person. I'm the contact person, and the best way to reach me is through email. So send me an email, and if we can do phone, but I definitely prefer email. But it's that PGC email that I believe is in the chat and will be on this website. So anything super specific to you, feel free to send an email about. In general, if the IRS is like really having a problem, I think you should just send an email to us about that. Okay, feel free to send emails about anything super specific, but I would also say that like submit what you have. So you should have, 2021 taxes should be done by now. We're not expecting any 2022. So we would expect to see a 2021 990 easy, even if that might not show up in your IRS select search. There aren't any significant changes from last year to this year. I don't think there are really much any. So to be eligible to apply, you have to serve people within the local impact area. So you can be located outside of the local impact area, but you have to serve people inside of the local impact area. Fiscal year terms, that would mean most organizations that are incorporated operate within a fiscal year. So that can be January to December, that can be July to June, whatever your fiscal year is, that's what we're asking you to submit based on. If you are new, I think I need to check on that question, because I think another grant that the county has, sometime I might have to check the FAQs. I'll have to get back on that one. So if Ms. Robinson, if you could send an email with that question, because I think that there is an answer, but I don't want to misspeak. I think that answer is in our FAQs. So for the local impact address, if you're serving parents of a school within that area, can I list a school? Yes, that would be exactly it. If you're serving a school that's within the local impact area, then you would use that address as your local impact address. For the address lookup, yes, you have to be within the 6-mile radius. And so if you go to look up your address and it doesn't pop up, that's because you're not within the radius. It will only pop up if your address is within the radius. Does it cover the South County? I don't know what the bounds are of what starts to be called South County, especially when it comes to like that radius. So I would really just use that website. Does the 6 mile radius cover Accokeek? Looking at the way I was eyeing it, my immediate reaction is like probably no. But I think we should probably just look at the map and yeah, I can't see it going that far, but probably should just look at the map and try to put your address in and see what happens. Are there any rules against celebrities advertising their participation with these programs? I feel like that question should go to someone else. So please send an email with that and we'll try to get that answered. Okay, I think this relates to what I was saying before. If you're new and you don't have anything, I need to get back on that one. So please send an email to make sure that we answer that. Yes, you can only check general if you are within, oh, I'm sorry, 3 mile. So as of last year, it was extended to 6 mile. So you can only do general if you're within the 6 mile radius, not 3. I think that might not have been updated on the application. That's our fault. Where is the map for qualifying radius? So when we did the application on this very first page, this second bullet under eligibility will give you a link for the map. Okay, Ms. Akers, I guess if you could re-put your question in the chat, because I'm not gonna, yeah, there's the radius for the map. Okay. Are we expecting a certain percentage of new grantees to apply and award? I don't have any expectations about who will apply. So I'm not sure. If you're a new company and you're filing for the first time, that's the question that I'll get back to. So the email I'll put in PGC LDC grants, PGC LDC grants at PGMD US. That's the email. As far as similar grants, I'm going to direct you to the county exec's office. They have a better handle on what grants are. They have a better handle on what grants the county has access to, and is there funds rollover if not used within the year? So the funds should definitely be used within the year. And if they're not used within the year, then you should definitely reach out to the LDC about that. So at mid-year and final reporting, you'll be sending us a report. If you don't think you're going to spend the funds, you should let us know before the final report is due. Okay, are there any other questions? And again, if you have anything super specific to you, and sure, let me just finish what I'm going to say, but if you have anything super specific to your organization, then please send an email about it. And if I said, please send an email because I'm not sure about this question, then you should send me an email about it because I'm not going to remember, but so please send an email and we'll easily and be sure to answer from there. And Ms. Akers, if you wanted to ask your question.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, mine is a little similar to one question, but one is not. So with the, I understand about the address of your business being one thing and you serving in the service area. But what if you're a nonprofit that serves all of Prince George's County? How would you put a specific address in that service area? Am I making sense?
You are, I feel like we had a situation like this before. If you can prove, you know, within your description and your narrative and maybe some other ways that you do serve people who live within the 6 mile radius, then I would just put one, I would send an email to just show that you have a trail of communicating that like, hey, I realize that I don't actually have a local impact area address,
Okay,
but I do serve people within the local impact area. And just to kind of clarify with that, because then we can kind of go back and forth with the council to make sure that that's going to be clear when it comes to your application. I would just
okay.
go ahead and duplicate my, if I were you, I would just go ahead and duplicate your mailing address there just to kind of fill it out because you can't move forward otherwise. But just make sure that you communicate that like, hey, I don't have a specific address,
Mhm.
but I do serve people with it. And I would, you know, if I were you, I would try to bring proof, which I think you don't have to submit this, or maybe you do. So just send an email because I'm not going to make that decision right here and now.
Okay,
But other organizations, I think, have been able to submit proof that they serve people within the local impact radius by like providing their names and addresses.
Okay.
So that might be something that's requested,
okay.
but definitely please send an email about it.
Okay, and the second question is, can funds be used for startup, if you maybe have been like in business like for maybe 2 years or maybe a year? Can it be used or, for startup funds?
My understanding is yes. I think funds can be used as long as people serve people who are in the local impact area.
Okay,
I think where it kind of functionally becomes that's hard to do is that a lot of times startup organizations don't submit 990s. That's the biggest hangup, or they can't find a letter of support from someone in the neighborhood who can attest to them serving. That's probably the biggest barrier to a newer organization actually being able to complete the application. But as long as your application is referencing what you're doing in a really detailed way or what you plan to do, it can be considered. You can definitely submit an application, but the LDC will actually make decisions on who the funds are awarded to.
okay. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
There's not a max number of grants to be issued, but there is a cap on the funding. And then the LDC gets to decide what that looks like. If you cannot type an address in the box to search the radius, it means that your address is not within the radius. So the addresses will only come up if they're actually in the radius. So I can
Excuse
try
me.
to. Yes.
It's not even allowing me to type any numbers in there to even search for an address.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Do you guys see my screen and it's happening for me? So I'm not sure about that. Maybe, I don't know, refresh your browser or something.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But yeah, like if I tried to do a College Park address, it wouldn't even pop up. Oh, it looks like someone is, Miss Croons is suggesting that you check the box. Maybe that'll help. Okay.
Okay.
Did someone unmute themselves for a question?
There are specific zip codes that are within that radius.
I don't know if the radius confines itself. I don't know where the zip codes I don't know where they kind of break off. So I think you just have to kind of cross-reference a zip codes map with this radius and see where that kind of lands. Any other questions about the application?
Yes, is that PGC LDC grants, is that the email address we should be using?
Yes, for the LDC awards, yes.
Thank you. If we have questions, we can use that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Funds can be used purely for staff salaries, and you just have to make your case in your the second part of your narrative. I believe it's like program description or something. You'd have to make the case for that. Okay, any other questions? People can always email. And again, it's better to email and ask than to just kind of move forward assuming. But feel free to send us an email. We will try to look at those at least every other day so that we can give people a response as soon as possible. Again, please do not wait until the last minute. That is a recipe for frustration. If any questions that you have were not answered here, can expense categories be added to the budget form? No, please do not do that. The goal there, we know that everyone kind of budgets differently. The goal with that template is that the LDC the council will actually be able to look at a apples to apples comparison of one organization to another. Please do not add to it. I believe this is like Upper Marlboro. I'm going to say it's we're looking at this area right here. So we've got mostly Fort Washington, Clinton, it's kind of Temple Hills area. This is what we're looking at. I think that's like Upper Marlboro or something, but I'm not sure. But feel free to use this map and see where it is. You go to the LDC website, you click this link, this map will pop up. All righty. Ryan, I think we're good. I think from here, people can just send us an email. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks for asking your questions.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Kanika. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all again. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us. Please feel free to look at the website. Links for all this stuff are available there. Pastor Robinson, do you want to take us out?
Yeah, I think Ms. Strong asked a question. I don't know if you answered that, Ms. Tanika. She was asking, are we expecting a certain amount of new organizations? Not necessarily, Ms. Strong. I mean, we try to avoid a bunch of duplication of efforts, and we try to avoid giving the same organizations the money over and over again. But that's considered with the grant selection committee and how they look at that. We don't involve ourselves in that until they're finished, and then they bring it to us for a final vote. But in answer to your question, we try to give everybody an opportunity with these grants, depending on the type of services they're providing. And as Tanika said, we're limited to $850,000. I think we got close to $1 million one year, but that of course expands and gives us the opportunity to involve more services in the area. We're also working on the needs assessment committee, where in the past it's been you guys coming to us telling us what types of services you want to do, but we are kind of researching to find out what kind of needs we have in the community and then advertise for those types of needs. So we are coming to a happy medium of changing over to the needs that we think are important in the community to mitigate the impact of MGM on the community. So in answer to your question, no, we're not necessarily looking for new, but we want to give everybody an opportunity to have a shot at the funding.
Thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am. With that, Brian, I don't have anything else. I want to thank everybody for coming. We deeply appreciate it. As Ryan said, last year we had the most successful year that we've had since doing this. So we're looking forward to duplicating that or exceeding that this year. But I want to thank you for your consideration. And as Kanika said, please make certain that you fill these applications out properly, because you won't get through the vetting process or get to us. Once it's to us, you're through the vetting process, and we can begin to really get down to understanding the types of services you're providing up against what we see the needs are in the community. So I want to thank you for for your participation. That's it for me, Ryan.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a safe evening, and we look forward to receiving your applications, and good luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you.